Good morning, Freetown. Good morning, Sierra Leone. Welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV Television and Radio on 101.7 FM. I am Phoebian Swale.
I am Victor Jones. Whether you're watching or listening to us from the provinces or in the capital city here in Freetown on Channel 33, on DSTV Channel 399 from across West Africa, you're welcome.
You can also watch us online from around the world on this beautiful day, 19th day in the month of August 2026. We're counting down 4 months to the end of the year 2026.
Indeed, and we are broadcasting, as always, live from the top of Tile here in the heart of this sprawling city, Freetown. Send us your comment through our socials on AYV News.
And coming up in the program today, the Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, has announced that the current executive of the All People's Congress will continue to manage the affairs of the party pending the determination of the court matter challenging one of the Commission's earlier directives. We'll discuss this.
Also, the Union of Academic Staff Association has issued a 21-day strike notice to the government of Sierra Leone over the non-implementation of the reviewed conditions of service for academic staff of public tertiary institutions and its demand for 100% salary increase. We'll be discussing that issue.
Also, Bishop Archibald Cole, General Overseer, New Life Ministries International, speaks on his open letter titled A Godly and Cautionary Advice to the Government and People of Sierra Leone. That's on constitutional reform, electoral reforms, and the preservation of national unity.
And also this morning, AYV's Maya Matomi will be reporting on the new haircut of veteran broadcaster Mama Jala, popularly known as DJ Bass.
But before delving into all of what's coming in the program today, let's get a word from our sponsor, Wakeup Commercial Bank, and that would be followed by other advertisers. Please stay with us and use the moment to make yourself a cup of tea or coffee if you can. If you're driving, stay on the wheels.
More and more people are using Wakeup SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Ah, Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, like a Wakeup SIM couple.
Ah.
Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Ah, excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs. The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Wakeup SIM Copper Plus now. You can download the Wakeup SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe and reliable.
Morning. Ria, give me 30 Leone top up. Thank you. Hello, babe. How you dey do? Talk to Guba.
Hello? Hello?
Don't settle for a provider that cuts into your data and airtime.
Ria, give me all the 30 deals.
AfriCell gives you full value. AfriCell, now we network.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I can take money, 2 MoneyGram.
Welcome our PC Foreign Exchange Bureau head office. Sit down.
Thank you.
You can write them.
Waiting that mean?
Where you can take money, 2 MoneyGram Ria Western Union and any PC and Son shop, including the head office. You do get 1% cashback instant.
Eh?
Yes, ma. You not tap deal. Every Thursday we can collect money. Now 59 Wellington Street, you say you dey showing at the head office for the foreign exchange. You do get 1% of that money you can collect plus additional gifts.
Wow! You mean say for me 1% I dey get gifts?
Yes, ma.
Waiting at the gift.
You dey get gifts like 5 kg paddy jasmine rice. You dey get gifts like paddy oil, paddy milk, paddy mayonnaise, and plenty other paddy things then.
Una, thank you.
You're welcome. And now you can call can only go give you an the lucky win and see what you go win you say.
Wait till you dey wait. No miss out on the Thursday special.
Visit Foreign Exchange Bureau, the 1% the game, plus Thursday special.
Feels good to see your face again. It's been a very crazy day. The joyous feeling in the air when rain falls on a sunny day.
Happy, yeah. Let the stars, let the roll.
Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina. Maltina. Share happiness.
As mama, I always want waiting best for me picking them, especially when it comes up waiting them for eat and drink. Now this make I always they choose Sarah juice because they make come from with local foods them and nutritious and it gets less sugar than the other drinks them. Not to me say so.
We lab test show say Sierra juice gets 50% less sugar than the other drinks them na the market.
Because we mama they know waiting best for we picking them, now you make we always they choose Sierra juice. Sierra juice is nutritious, it's healthy and it's sweet. Sierra juice, not the taste of Salome.
Fellow Sierra Leoneans, on 8th August 2024, Statutory Instrument Number 8 of 2024 regarding the conduct of nationwide population and housing census was successfully laid in Parliament. On 29th August 2024, this statutory instrument became effective following 21 days from its laying. Therefore, in line with the decennial census calendar, I am pleased to announce that my government will conduct a nationwide population and housing census.
It's 2026, we dey get with census. Make all man tell him famble them. And we responsibility for bring development. Make all man tell him famble them. From the east to the west, blah blah blah. From the north to the south, no matter how you dare or you try, blah blah blah. Motoka, mama or papa, blah blah blah. One pikin or grandpa, blah blah blah. Auntie or uncle, blah blah blah. Motibe, let them come to you. Yeah, one people, one nation. Let them come to you. Yeah, now we number go bills alone. Let them come to you. Yeah, no person say you not care. Let them come to you. Let them come to you.
I'm a papa, make we come together now. Brother, sister, nothing saying no matter, no. No left behind, no. This now you 10 for. Can join the census. Salon now we on.
Okay, well, show me your name, show me your address. For make you go join now the plan. The census go make you get the access. For make you go vote now this land. Let the all you. If you don't want make them country again, make them creep you. Cause this time you're salon for right.
See what you been a second cabo aduo. We bring good news, salon people here yo. Census don't come again. We ready for control. Sky from the young to the old. Say the census go help make development day. Allow me then continue till you know go pay. It go help plan more schools, hospital and lights, even water for you community. Who say you there?
Let them come to you. Yeah, one people, one nation. Let them come to you. Yeah, now we number go bills alone. Let them come to you.
Since us they come, the other we cooperate. Tell mama and papa, then get for cut we all, the other we all ready. Since us go help for make we know we safe, and who's how we stand. If you claim say you love salon, who's a development day, na day for day.
Yeah, Motagina, Mingo Tete Biambe, got 2026, census na me right, census na you right. Family, imagine, if they count everybody, they left you out.
Amulemba kotumogbawa, opa kofuni ngesa bele tuwa. Tonya, ye amubuji hule panda, wabulo letado bawa baya ganga. Ye tumogbawa mudagbe behave, comment ya go salon bate, mukbeleva. Nabi yina na metabo bawana, yo mama kome kolabo gonya delega, ina.
Kakotone dim din dang, dim din dang, dim din dang. Katsap katsa ting anka be katsa konkel, anka be katsa panganda yer. Abagato bagats, aindo kor, akalene, samo jamu, agatsamu, sarentamu. Donye, mama maritaka gonsu.
Amiya timi wandi, timi wandi. Amiya timi wandi, timi wandi. Mwa kongo tami wandi, ungewa menda milwena wo. Ya kongo tabi wandi, ungeba handa bebe holo.
From this to west, blama blama. From the north to the south, blama. No matter how you dare or you try, blama blama. Motoka, mama or papa, blama blama. One picking on grandpa, blama blama. Auntie or uncle, blama blama. Motibe, may they call you, yeah. One people, one nation, may they call you, yeah. Now we number go be a salon, may they call you, yeah. No person say you no care, may they call you, yeah. May they call you, yeah.
All right, welcome back, and a reminder that this is Wake Up Sierra Leone on the Africa Young Voices in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Now, for years, you could recognize him before he even introduced himself. The voice, the personality, the energy, and of course, the dreadlocks. But after carrying his signature locks for nearly half his life, veteran broadcaster Mama Jajala, popularly known as DJ Bass, has cut them off. For some, it's simply a haircut.
But for a man whose look became almost as recognizable as his voice, the change raises a bigger question. What does it mean to let go of something you've carried for so long? AYV's Mariam Atome has more, with pictures by Daniel Fobi.
The dreadlocks followed him behind the microphone, in television studios, at public events, and through some of the defining moments of his career. But the man behind them has always been more than an appearance. Mama Jajalo has spent decades in Sierra Leone's media industry, building a reputation as a broadcaster, presenter, and social commentator. From radio to television, DJ Bass became a familiar voice, using his platforms to entertain, challenge, and engage the public on issues affecting society. At AYV, he hosted programs including Back to Base and Hot Seat, placing him at the center of public conversation.
No one poor man back from power.
Why?
What I mean, well, what's a poor man mean? You can get your integrity, you know what I mean, eh? But again, you must strong a little bit. Let's say standard. Look, this solar lines and what we talk about. We know they walk around the beach. We know they walk around the hillside bypass road. We know they walk around King Aman Road.
Then came the moment few expected, the scissors. What had become part of his public identity was cut away, and suddenly, a familiar face looked unfamiliar.
And your blessings shall live on, shall live on, shall live on. Let's give thanks and praise.
For someone who had carried the star for nearly half his life, this was no ordinary transformation. It marked the end of an era.
The background are common and full of background, so they're not be like dandy. But one of the things that we make do the dreadlocks and for change the perception of people, and doing the dreadlocks and for say you can still be who I be and still get dreadlocks. One of the things that make have been decided for police dreadlocks, like when they go make, we can don't take long time. For example, I can go to UK to my wife, I not can do one day. But when I come, what they see the way they rub the head, you know, I feel I'm made can't. So one day I said, this is again for Poland because I'm able to like body. Put you know the cream or lensing and they well doing the dreadlocks also, the shaker and the shaker and the shaker. Sometimes made care like I don't want anything they unbug me. So I don't plan to say that. I mean one of the reasons why I don't plan to say they don't. So the other reason is I get a bond, I get a tie with, I mean, of course, not some mama tell me for cut the dread, not some mama tell me. And I guess somebody will look say, I mean, without the dread, I mean, you can still do what you do. So my reason of cutting this dread, one reason the way, hopefully by over the weekend, maybe by Monday, people will know the real reason we make a decide for cutting.
His transformation also marks the passage of time. The young broadcaster who entered the industry decades ago is now a veteran whose career has spanned generations of listeners and viewers. Technology has shifted, radio and television have shifted, audiences have shifted, and now so has one of the most recognizable parts of himself.
DJ Bass has been known with the dreadlocks for years, decades. But I think for me, I would want to say maybe it's the power of love. I think DJ Bass is in love, and I think I want to believe it's love. Maybe the woman in question wants that new look because that's the only way you can explain it. My brother, enjoy the love.
One day he did on an interview on TikTok and he say, few weeks from now we'll get for cuts made dreadlocks. And I say, wow. I say, really? I say, I go on for see DJ Bass the cuts in dreadlocks. And indeed, AI video become away. A lot of people they say DJ Bass don't cut in locks. And I pick up phone and call and say, DJ Bass, is it true? He say no, he say they cut them soon. And indeed, he do, the cutting of in dreadlocks.
Perhaps the real question isn't whether people like the new look, but whether the man remains the same without it.
And one minute, man, I like reggae music, and I know say reggae connected with dreadlocks. And I like reggae. I know say reggae get message. Me, one of the people in way promote reggae music. We talk about reggae, but DJ Bass. So all over the world, people they call me all over. Hey, you don't cut the dread, you don't see it. Even when the eye been go, people get so much concerning. The other thing again, some people are happy, some like them Muslim or Fulham, and then like I don't know, but then get them perception. But what you want to change again from this cutting of the dreadlocks is you can still cut the dreadlocks, you still be who I be. So I want to make down the and I don't know, people go say we cutting dreadlocks, in sense go no, in sense the inside, you know. It's just a style and I still stand for it people know me for and I will still continue to do that.
For years, his dreadlocks were almost inseparable from DJ Bass, seen in studios, on screens, and at public events. Today, they're gone, but his transformation suggests that changing the outside doesn't mean losing who you are. The style may be gone, but the experience and legacy remain.
A lot of Rasta people, they call me back. Hey, Bryce, about one man down this, and I say, man. And Morgan Heritage say, you don't have to be a dread to be a Rasta. Not the mind, you know. And me, not the heart inside, I'm still who I am, and I'll still do that. And so many reggae artists and they don't get dread. So what's it signify? So I want to change that concept for Salon people.
Perhaps his story is a reminder that we can outgrow an old version of ourselves without losing the person we've always been. From decades behind the microphone to a fresh look, Mama Jajalo is a proof that even the most familiar identities can change. The dreadlocks are gone, but the story continues. Maya Matomi, AYV News, Freetown.
All right, many thanks indeed to Mariam Tomi. Now return to our main studio here for our first conversation. The Union of Academic Staff Association, UASA, has issued a 21-day strike notice to the government of Sierra Leone over the non-implementation of the reviewed conditions of service for academic staff of public tertiary institutions and its demand for a 100% salary increase.
Now, in a formal notification addressed to the Minister of Technical and Higher Education, UASA said it had been engaging the government and other relevant stakeholders for the past 3 years in an effort to resolve issues affecting academic staff.
According to the union, it has held engagements with the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education, the Ministry of Finance, the Tertiary Education Commission, TC, the Office of the Chief Minister and State House, and most recently, the Wages and Compensation Commission, WCC.
UASA said its engagements with these stakeholders have consistently focused on two key demands: the immediate implementation of the reviewed conditions of service for academic staff of public tertiary institutions and the government's consideration of its demand for 100% salary increase.
However, the union said that despite several meetings, correspondences and appeals over the past 3 years, efforts to secure a positive and concrete response from the government have not yielded the desired results.
UASA warned that the continued delay in addressing its concerns is affecting the morale and welfare of academic staff, while also impacting the quality of teaching, research and community service delivery in public tertiary institutions.
The union has therefore formally notified the government of its intention to embark on an industrial action if its concerns are not addressed within the 21-day notice period. Now, this morning, to talk about the planned industrial action, I've been joined by Mosi Sama Kailondo Banya, Academic Staff Association President, Freetown Polytechnic, and Head of Media Public Relations Team of the Union of Academic Staff Association. Good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning.
For those who have not been following quite thoroughly, would you perhaps mind to just give us a synopsis of what has happened and where the contention lies?
Okay, thank you very much. We have a condition of service, and by Act of Parliament, every 3 years, we are supposed to discuss our conditions first with our authorities, and then we meet the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education. In 2021, we have similar situation like what we are facing now. We tried all possible means. It was only solved by the intervention of HE, the president, when we had to go to State House and give us a 75%, which was spread 50% in 2021 and 25% in 2022. That 3-year period has lapsed. It lasts between 21 and 2023. So for 2024, 2025, and coming to this 2026, we have tried all possible means. It has been difficult. And therefore, we thought it wise to issue a 21-day notice so that authorities can engage us to solve this impasse.
Walk us through the arithmetic, if you can. How much does the average, lecturer take home at the moment, and what's the justification for doubling that at this moment?
Well, when you look at, we have two cadres. We have the universities and we have the polytechnic.
Okay.
At the polytechnic level, a lecturer too, who is supposed to have a master's degree, take home slightly above 4,000 leons.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas a lecturer 1 takes above 5,000, and for senior lecturers it's around 6. For the universities, for lecturer 1, for lecturer 2 is about 10 to 11,000, and for lecturer 1 is around 14,000. So when we look at that and looking at the inflation over the period of time, we are talking about 2022, when the last adjustment was made. Now from 2022 on to August 2026, you agree with me that prices have skyrocketed. So therefore, when we look at that, we are calling for 100% so that when we negotiate, we have the 100% so that it can take care of all challenges we have. Let me give you one instance, like medical. It may interest you to note that we are giving 100 new leons as medical for you, your spouse, and 3 dependents. Now, having engaged within this period, that has been increased to 250. Even the 250, we see it as being very small. But when you consider ordinary headache, you spend over 300, and you are giving 250 for 5 people, including yourself. So those are the background from which we are coming from. That's just one example. So that we ask for 100% with negotiation, we can have something very reasonable that will satisfy our memberships.
You also state that you've had engagements, series of engagements, reminding the government of your concerns with different authorities. What has been the outcome of the engagement with those different people in authority that you've been?
Well, the outcome of the engagement has been one, I told you about the medical, which has been increased from 100 to 250. As I tell you, even the rent they give us, just imagine a flat in Freetown, you have a family. Some people receive rent of 2,000 leons per month. And here, they ask you about 30, 40, 50,000. And they demand 2 years. So where are we going to get that money? Because if we are not in the right frame of mind, how do you expect us to carry out our core mandate, teaching, research, and community service? It's a concern to us. So, but these two key demands have not been addressed, the one we are advocating for now.
So how many demands did you put on the table when you started the engagement?
We had several demands we put. One was the severance benefit. We engaged that. Government, in its wisdom, led by HE, asked that to be paid off. But it's interesting to note that there are still institutions that have not got the balanced severance benefit. It's a challenge. For the past 3 to 4 years, we have been fighting on that. That has been addressed to some extent, and also the medical. But like the salary increment, which affects all the things and also our benefit, has not been addressed. We have also developed the conditions of service with a lot of welfare benefits, and our authorities are not ready to address it, with the understanding that that document has not been approved.
So in figures, what percentage of the concerns you put forward would you say have been addressed?
When we look at it, the key ones, it's less than 40% that has been addressed.
I ask this because we need to get an understanding as to, again, you say you've been engaging all these authorities.
Yeah.
How did it go from an engagement where you say some of the issues you've raised, the proposal you've put forward have been addressed, to now saying there's a 21 days ultimatum for a strike? How did the conversation go from the negotiation to now giving a warning for a strike action?
Well, it has been a back and forth. We'll prepare a set of documents, we submit it, the goalpost changes. The next time we call, it's a different thing. The document will be sent to TEC. TEC will say ministry. We go to Ministry of Technical Education, it's TEC. We have been involved in this for quite a long time, as you rightly stated. So we thought it fit that if this 21 days is given and we sit down, these two key challenges that we have will be adequately addressed.
The 21 days started yesterday, is it?
It started on the 13th. That's last week. That was the day the letter was submitted.
Since you issued this 21 days, has any of those individuals from government reached out?
Unfortunately, not to my knowledge, as the head of media.
But not to your knowledge, but could it be they've reached out to any member of the association?
In terms of the leadership, we have the president, we have the secretary general, and myself. We communicate on a daily basis. Neither the president nor the secretary general have reached to me that he has been called by the relevant authorities.
So there's been no form of engagement?
No form of engagement since then.
So what impact will the strike action have, both on the government and the students?
Well, it regards the student, the interesting thing is we don't go on vacation. We are still on work. As I talk to you, some institutions are still on second semester exams. We have to supervise students' dissertation. So if within the 21 days is addressed, there will be no interruption with regards to our activities. But once those are not addressed after the 21 days, then we have no alternative but to disengage.
Let's talk about the impact this would have. How many students are we talking about that will be affected by this industrial strike?
We have thousands of students we are talking about here. That's the more or less reason why we decided to complete our exams, because that will be a major factor. If we teach and exams are not conducted, then it will lead to an uproar. We have been so magnanimous to say, okay, let's complete the academic work. We think the authorities can engage us within this period. We'll sit down and solve this issue.
You know, another thing, I know, whilst you are, advocating for your conditions of service to be improved, a lot of people have a contrary view that most of these institutions are marred with corruption, bribery and criminality. Perhaps you would say that is a bit associated to the fact that you are not being paid well. Would that be a fair characterization?
Well, there is no justification to corruption with the regards that you are not paid well. Okay. But at the same time, if you are paid well, it may even influence you not to involve in corruption.
Let's discuss the standard of education. I know I like to drink from the well of knowledge of people who are truly educated, like yourself. Do you think indeed that we are doing well as a country, in terms of academic standards at the moment, especially with tertiary institutions in the country?
When we look at, well, to be very fair, in my own opinion, there are a lot of challenges.
Okay.
Those of us that are the service providers are not happy with the fact that our working conditions are deplorable. So that will also impact teaching and learning. So that is more or less we want to engage so that we focus on our core mandate to make sure that our students are the best in themselves. As it is now, values are dropping because of the numerous challenges associated with it. But once those are addressed, I want to assure you that we'll do our level best. We'll always be on gear.
You know, perhaps again, it goes beyond just the remuneration, because people who have taught before now would tell you that there's perhaps conditions were worse off than yours even at the moment. We've had people who have taught for years, you know, but they're just normal people in society. Do you think that perhaps as time progresses, people now want more, you know, want to look better, want to drive cars, you know, want to live in big houses, you know? Do you think that could be the problem, the quest to want more, rather than concentrating on the actual impact of teaching?
Well, it's not actually the quest of getting more. It's the quest of getting job satisfaction. What we are saying is, you are comparing those that have taught for long.
Yeah.
The economic trends are not the same. When we look years back, 10, 15 years, I've been on this job for more than a quarter of a century.
Okay.
So when I look at when I started as a young man, looking at what we were paid, it was small, but we were able to address economic issues. As I talk to you now, what we are paid cannot address our economic issues.
Has anyone within the top rank of governance called you guys to, let's say, the Chief Minister, Minister of Education?
You mean since we issued the letter?
Yes.
Nobody has called us. I've just said that.
What about when you started, actually? When
we have been engaging, as I said, rightly from the introduction.
And this engagement, what fruit did they bear, you know, at the initial stages?
Well, it is out of the engagement, as I said, one, we were able to get, for institutions that are transformed, from the university college to polytechnic, and from polytechnic to technical, so we succeeded in getting part of our severance benefit. That has not been completed. Again, I talk about the medical. It is out of this engagement that we have medical increase from 100 to 250 for 5 people.
Did any of them outrightly say to you as a body that this is impossible, it cannot be done now? Or was the conversation, it would be done, give it time? What was their response to the rest of the demands that they've not been able to meet?
Well, it has always been wait and wait. We have waited for 3 years, as I've said. Now, from the background where I came from, the same thing happened in 2021. It was the wisdom of His Excellency that came in. We believe in him, his passion for education. You know, when he comes into this issue can be solved. We have written 2 letters to him that want to have an engagement. Well, because of his busy schedule, we were told to wait after the mini summit, ECOWAS mini summit. We have made several representations to Secretary to President, and up till now, we have not been called. We believe once called, this issue can be solved. HE can come in and solve it for us.
So is this strike about getting the President's attention?
It's not, it's like we have not been listened to. We have tried all possible means, there have been no results. We know when it reaches his desk, it will be addressed.
So peradventure, you get to the President, and he also says, continue to wait. Would you desist from the strike action, or would you still...
We trust him for his wisdom, madam. That was the same thing in 2021. When we say, gentlemen, you've gone that far. Let's sit down and solve this thing on my table. You know, as I do, his passion for education. Once we interface with him, we'll know those issues which are difficult can be addressed. We have that conviction.
For clarity, let's understand what you really seek at this stage, you know, to prevent the strike action. Is it just an audience with the President, even without tangible solutions to the problem immediately? Or is it not just only about a sit down with the President and audience, but also to get tangible results from your engagements?
Both sitting down with the President and getting tangible results.
It's chances are you couldn't get both. Chances are you could sit with the President and he says, we'll get to this, but give it time. As his cabinet some of his cabinet members have said to you, chances are you would sit with him and he would say this should be actioned upon immediately. It could go either ways.
We are of the conviction law is based on precedent. He has done it before. We have no doubt in him that he will address it again.
So if you don't get the audience of the President,
he's a listening president. We know he will talk to us.
If you don't get it immediately,
I want to assure you maybe he has not got the correct information. Once the correct information reaches his desk, he will engage us. We believe in that.
And so if he doesn't engage you and the time frame elapses, you go on the strike, what then happens?
We don't want to embark on strike. That is why we have given this period so that it will be a period of engagement. We have the conviction that the period will not elapse without us being engaged.
But if it does, because it could.
Well, if it could, then there will be some hiccup somewhere. And that is what we don't want. Let me tell you just before now that when we met with the Secretary to President, he assured us that HE is aware of our letter to meet him. It's a matter of time. We know very soon he will engage us.
So if peradventure you get to the stage of going on a strike, is there a time frame for that strike, or is it an indefinite strike period?
If we come to the worst case scenario and they will go on strike, if today we are on strike, tomorrow they called us, it's settled, it's called off. We can just communicate with our membership across the country, and then it's called off.
And if you're not called upon?
We believe that will be called.
Are you concerned as a body on how this would affect the students and yourselves as well? Because it would be a strike that would sort of like press pause on your work, but it's not going to take the work off your desk. If you get to the point of striking, after the strike, there is still work on your desk. You have to go back to prepare for another semester. Are you concerned about the workload this would have on you and the impact it would have on the students who would be delayed?
Let me tell you, we are also parents. We have our kids, our wards to pay for. I mean, if we don't have what to take to pay for them, how can they continue with their education? Now, as I talk to you, we have engaged our membership across. Examinations are ongoing. We have to be on our gears. We have to mark our papers, and within this period, we continue to supervise our students, especially the final year students. So we are not keeping a workload. Even during period of disengagement, we continue to work. We are not keeping our work. So by the time the dust is settled, be rest assured, we don't have any challenge with our workload. We'll continue to work, even when there are challenges associated with our working conditions.
I've listened to your responses to my colleague. It appears as though that the goal is to meet the president.
It's not only to meet the president, our issues to be solved.
But there is a minister of education whom the president had, appointed. Why not push to meet him instead of meeting the president? It's not his job, actually. It's the minister's job to fix your problems.
We have had several engagements with the minister. To be very sincere with you, she has tried. The bottleneck lies with the Minister of Finance. We have met severally, countless number of times with her. Very accommodating. Each time we ask her for a meeting, she's always ready to welcome USA. But her hands are tied. She can promise, I will push this, but there will be a bottleneck at the end.
And by her hands are tied, you mean the Ministry of Finance couldn't release the funds?
She cannot give the money. That's
what has been the actual instruction to the Ministry of Finance?
Well, there have been engagement, because each time we meet with the minister, I have engaged them on ABC, the base of what you need. We have to go there again. There has been back and forth, back and forth.
Now, what has the Ministry of Finance said? What have they been saying, actually? There are reasons for not releasing these funds that they so need badly.
Well, as I do, Ministry of Finance will always say there is no money. That is with all financial institutions. To dish out money is a challenge.
And just so we are clear, if they said that to you, that there was no money, what would that money be meant for, really?
To address welfare issues of staff.
Yeah. Which staff are we talking about? I just want to paint the importance of this so that we understand exactly.
Let me make it very clear. At the higher institutions, with the academics, we pursue welfare issues, but it covers all senior academic and administrative staff. So when I talk about staff, it's a compound term.
And if at all the Ministry of Finance refuses, as they've been doing, to release these funds, what impact would it have on the education landscape in Sierra Leone?
Well, it will affect the reopening of the other academic year, but we don't want to reach that point.
Meaning students will be stranded home?
Well,
they'll not be able to go to college?
That may be one implication, if there is no way out. But we believe we don't want to go to that level. If you recall, I did say we had a similar situation. And eventually, when it reached the president by then, we were immediately summoned to State House. And within an hour, the issue was trashed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let me understand something. By meeting the president, what would you require of him?
We have already written to him 2 letters outlining these 2 major concerns we have. A 100% salary increment for our members and also the conditions of service, which has not been approved. And that condition of service is not only about money. There are a whole lot of welfare issues to be addressed there.
You've said that the Ministry of Finance has been giving excuses that there is no money, actually.
Yeah.
Now, this thing is not abagadabra. You know, perhaps the president could tell you the same thing, that there is no money. Don't you think so?
He's a president that is talk and do. He will find a way out. We believe that.
Do you think your demands are realistic at this current time, given the economic situation in the country, requiring 100% increment?
We have asked for that to be negotiated. We believe, because the background I gave you, every 3 years we are supposed to negotiate our conditions of service. And one thing I want us to bear in mind, whenever there is an increment for government workers, we are not affected. With a simple understanding that you people negotiate. So if you had over the years 15%, 20%, we did not benefit from it. And as I told you, even in 2021, the same story by Minister of Finance, there is no money. That was what they kept on telling us. Until we went to the president, there was a way out.
On the principle of value for money, there are concerns about the drastic falling standards of education generally in the country, and even at the tertiary level is no exception. You find graduates who can poorly perform. They seriously underperform in some of their industries. How do you justify a demand for an increment at this time?
I've told you about our working conditions. One thing about teachers I know, once they are satisfied with their working conditions, they can perform wonders. The issue about falling standards is a multifaceted issue. We have various stakeholders that are playing the game. But we are service providers. We are trying from our own side to do our level best in our classrooms. But we don't have all to make sure that the standards are kept. Other stakeholders have to support us so that we keep the standard.
What really is the role of Union of Academic Staff Association?
The role of Union of Academic Staff Association is to seek the welfare of their members, at the same time to make sure that workers, the staff, carries out their normal duty, teaching and learning, research, and also community service. Those are our roles to maintain standard.
How do you enforce the compliance of that for your colleagues to maintain standard? Because across sectors, you would find there are the good ones and the bad ones.
Yeah.
And the bad ones are usually the ones when they really do something bad, can stain the image of an entire association or profession. How do you ensure or enforce compliance?
We have rules and regulations. In our conditions of service, there are a lot of things spelled out there, the do's and the don'ts. And even as an association, we have ways of addressing those challenges. In every society, you have people, when you say go to the left, they will always go to the right, or right to the left. But we have our own mechanism to address those issues when it comes up with regards to our membership.
With those mechanisms you have, if you still talk to some of the students, they would narrate a very terrible experience with some of your colleagues in the classrooms. Those who perhaps would fail to show up when they're supposed to show up and have sessions with the students. Those who would perhaps show up and not deliver as they're expected to. How successful have you been as a union in these checks and balances with your members? What are your success stories?
As a union, we always engage our membership. We have our plenaries where we admonish our colleagues to make sure that they do their work diligently as it is required of them. So that's one way we can sensitize them, and we also monitor. For those of us who are administrative position like heads of department or things, we monitor classes. But let's don't forget about our colleagues that even the students, a good number of them do not also come for classes. There have been complaints from our membership across all institutions. You go to teach a class of 60, you meet 10 students there. So the challenge is not only on the side of academics. I agree with you, with some colleagues.
But the work of the lecturer, whether your students show up or not, you get paid to show up. So even if it's one student out of 1 million that shows up, your job, your commitment is to show up consistently.
Of course, that is what I'm saying. We make sure, we talk to colleagues. If you are tied up, make sure you arrange your class. Because there are certain times natural forces may come. You can get up in the morning, get prepared to go for lectures. You are suddenly attacked by fever, which you have no control over. But by and large, it is our responsibility, which we normally do, to make sure that we talk to them. Make sure you honor your classes. If you have a class of 50 and one student tells up, teach the student. I, for one, I don't wait for numbers. In my classes, 5 minutes before time, I'm by the door. I have a common nickname they called me, Jesus never failed. And you know what that means when you are a teacher.
You say you do monitoring as well. Let's talk about the monitoring processes, because to have a regulation for a set of people is not enough. Hence, generally, even in society, it's not just about the laws. It's about the police and the courts, because people don't always comply. So those who default, there should be consequences. With your monitoring, you just said you do monitoring. With your monitoring, how many lecturers have you been able to sort of bring to book who have not been complying? Because you would not paint a picture that all the lecturers comply.
No.
So from your monitoring, what's the report?
The report has been fine because a good number. Even in instances where we have complaints from students, we make sure that those issues raised by the students are addressed. If there's a problem with a colleague, we know our redress mechanism. Within the department, if we know there is a very serious challenge with a particular colleague, we may end up changing that particular colleague with respect to that class.
Has it ever happened?
It has. I remember when I was the head of the department, a set of students complained a particular lecturer. I had to step into the class, and appropriate mechanisms were put in place to make sure that the students were not left unattended.
And so when you do your monitoring and lecturers are found wanting, what's the pathway to resolving that?
The pathway for resolving that, we engage the relevant authorities, for example, the academic affairs officer, or the registrar and the human resource. We sit down and make sure that if there is an issue with a particular colleague, that issue is adequately addressed. If it's about teaching and learning, heads of department have the responsibility to monitor classes while lessons are on. You can go to a class during lecture time, sit at the back of the class. We do what we call supportive supervision. By the end of the class, we engage the lecturer to look at key areas where there are challenges and suggest areas for improvement.
Between the lack of paraphernalia, gadgets, technology, and what have you, and minuscule or little resources financially, which would you say is perhaps by far the most significant problem you're faced with that is responsible for the falling standards of academic learning in Sierra Leone?
We look at materials, teaching and learning materials, especially equipment, apparatus, and others. When you go to all public tertiary institutions, especially with the sciences and ICT, there is a challenge.
Okay.
Let's take, for example, ICT. You have over 1,000 students, then you have 50 computers. How many can benefit at a time? That's a serious challenge. You go to most of the laboratories, they are ill-equipped. That also affects learning, teaching and learning. So these are some of the things we put in our conditions. We sit down with authorities to talk to them. The issue about research, which is one of our core mandates. The ministry has always emphasized a particular percentage of the budget to go to research. But for that money to reach the staff to carry out research, it's a Herculean tax. So there are numerous challenges which affect our productivity.
I'm glad you talked about research. Let's talk about, research for a while. Most of our lecturers, at tertiary and university levels are grossly underpublished, grossly under-researched. They hardly publish articles. And one of the jobs of, a lecturer is to research and publish peer reviews, articles and books, so that their students could learn more. Why is it that most lecturers find it difficult to write in Sierra Leone? How would you find the works of Sierra Leoneans online actually being referenced by other academics elsewhere, which is one reason why we are not being ranked, in fact, in the first place?
You know, when you look at that, there is a serious challenge. One of the major challenges why we don't publish in peer-reviewed journals. One, we have to pay. There are some journals you pay over $500. And looking at what you take home, when you take care of your family, it becomes a challenge. So that's one major challenge. But by and large, there is a mitigating factor there. What the ministry has now done together with TEC, if you don't publish, you will not be promoted. So now a good number of colleagues are now writing. Well, but that's the only way you can proceed from one stage to the other.
Isn't that a double jeopardy? Because you've just said that it's quite expensive to publish in these journals, and now you're being forced to publish.
So
how would you get money to pay?
Well, those are the challenges, you see. So the small amount you are supposed to manage your life with, you pay to publish. Then still, you are creating more problems. Those are some of the challenges we face.
Let's discuss pedagogy. A lot of people have criticized, the methods, with which our lecturers teach in Sierra Leone. Many people now oppose the rote learning method, as in to memorize, lift copious pages of notes and regurgitate in exams and pass. It appears as though that particular manner of teaching and learning has actually had an adverse effect on the quality of graduates that we now have in Sierra Leone. What are your views?
My views generally is I don't subscribe to rote learning, neither teacher-centered. What we have done is there have been a lot of trainings over the years. We have moved away from teacher-centered to learner-centered, wherein we involve our learners or students in a whole lot of activities. We can use several approaches. We can use, for example, guided discovery. Help them to discover knowledge for themselves. That's one way.
In what way? How do you do
You give them a task. Through brainstorming and carry out meaningful hands-on activities, they can discover knowledge for themselves by directing them properly as what you want them to do.
Which is something that is quite absent in our curriculum, for example.
That is what
practicals, A while ago, I spoke with a professor who believes that, for example, if you're teaching people engineering, you should bring actual engineers to a class, take them to the site to solve problems. If it's mechanical engineering, take them to the automobile shop, where they repair cars. They'll give them the car to diagnose, find the problem, and then fix it. Could teaching methods as such work?
Of course. We welcome out-of-class activities. There is no way you can teach.
But how do our universities indulge in such, approaches?
Well, gradually, for quite a long time, you started with the rote learning and others. We are, especially those of us who train teachers. We have moved away from that rote learning now. We have moved up to higher order thinking skills, according to Bloom's taxonomy.
Like
analyzing, creating. Those are ways by which learning can be facilitated. That comprehension, knowledge, and understanding are basic level. That is why I said, if you provide meaningful activities for the learners, they have hands-on activities, play with the materials, they can learn on their own with minimal guidance from the instructor.
But do we agree at this point that perhaps one of the reasons, or maybe the major reason, why we have not progressed much, our standards in academia is rapidly falling, it's not because of resource really, but it takes a lot more than resource really.
Well,
would you agree that it's not only money that is responsible for these falling standards?
But money is a mitigating factor, because if the resource is there, the adequate learning materials.
Does this involve practicals?
I'm coming. If there is resource and for practical work, all the relevant materials are available. The role of the instructor is to guide the learners and not to give them knowledge. But when those materials are not there, which is as a result of limited resource, it becomes a serious challenge. I agree with you. Resource is not the only one, but it's also an underlying factor that affects teaching and learning.
Just to paint a perspective, if you were to get all of these gadgets, these sophisticated, paraphernalia and technologies that you need, who would be responsible to bear the cost? Is it the government of Sierra Leone?
In terms of higher education, government cannot do it all. As I talk to you, we have institutions where we have the Bajia project. Yeah, they are now helping like Mitimaga and other institutions. So when we look at those, government can come in and work with donor partners. Even the institutions to some extent can also come in because they are also collecting fees. Government cannot do it all.
I'm glad you talked about donor funding.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that is lacking at universities is, you know, project writing, for example. Haven't we reached the stage where universities should start writing projects to NGOs, for example, international organizations, to help them, to solve some of these problems?
Yeah.
Government cannot handle everything. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the institution, we cannot say the institutions are not doing it. Take, for example, Jala University. They are working with a lot of line ministries, carrying out different projects. And it's not only limited. Even you go to USL, they are doing a whole lot of work. One thing I will agree with
you. If the monies are coming, then why are you complaining?
No, if the monies are coming, let me tell you. One, you have a set tax to achieve with the project. At the same time, you know what? We also give to the institution. For every project you come with to the institution, you have to give a 10% of that project to the institution.
10%?
Yeah, that's what we give them for any project that is coming.
And what is that 10% meant for?
It's meant for development of the institution.
And then if you've been giving 10% to these universities, why are they not developing?
Well,
when the funds are meant to develop the colleges?
That again is a question for those that are.
Would you say that the monies are being squandered?
Well, I don't want to say they are being squandered because I don't collect, neither do I dispense. But what I'm saying is, the projects that come in are very limited. They cannot take care of everything. But as to what happens to those monies, I can't tell.
But you know, these universities should be able to make money.
Of course.
But why are they not making money?
Well,
what would you say is the problem?
That depends on, we are academics.
Okay.
We can help the institution to make money, but the institution takes the lead. The leadership of the institution, the administrative.
In essence, you're saying that we have a leadership problem at our university. Is that what you're saying?
No, we don't. I can't say we have leadership problem.
Well, I mean,
what I'm saying is, we have to be development oriented as institutions. You go to some institutions, they are far ahead of others.
What would it take to be development oriented in this day and age?
You have the will of the leadership. The will of the leadership is, say, hey, let's procure materials, gadgets for this department. They are there.
Okay.
I tell you, one of the things we normally do is continuous professional development. We make sure we provide continuous professional development for our staff. And if any new technology comes or any new methods, staff are trained to make sure they carry out those. So it depends on the will. Once there is a will, like you are here, if you have the will for develop this place, it can move. Boom.
Overall, how do you think we can improve the standards of education in Sierra Leone at tertiary level? Because obviously that's your domain.
By improving the status of education at tertiary level, all stakeholders, including us as academics, should be fully focused on making sure that we achieve the mission and the vision of the institution. Our core business is teaching and learning and carrying out research and community service. Once every hand is on deck and we engage our students, let's don't forget also, attitude also comes in. We engage the students about their own learning. Once everybody is focused, learning can take place.
How do we hold lecturers more accountable in a situation where the students don't feel many of them don't feel very comfortable or powerful enough to even report a malpractice by a lecturer comfortably?
Well, one thing I want to say, the students evaluate us. We are giving appraisal forms at the end of every year. They are given to heads of department and they cascade it down to members of their department. And for the students, some of them, of course, I can say, they also compromise the situation. But for those that are bold enough, they come up with issues. Let me tell you, when I was head of department, students will come to me and say, Mr. HOD, you have assigned this supervisor to me. He's not doing A, B, and C. If I find out that it's correct, I will take appropriate measure and make sure that that student is being duly addressed. In our departments, we have 19 students. As I talk to you, I'm supervising 7 of them. Originally, I had 5. 2 had problems with their supervisors. They met the current head and they were reassigned to me. So to tell you, we can come in to make sure that those student interests are also addressed.
What becomes much scary to some of them is retaliation. The general thought is that once a student becomes bold enough to report wrongdoing of a lecturer.
Yeah.
It's either you don't get the needed attention or justice you seek, or even if you get it, other lecturers sort of like just gang up against you. They retaliate that you had the audacity to report another lecturer. How do you protect students against retaliation for simply coming forward to boldly report?
Now, when the students report, we know that student will be targeted. One thing we operate with is confidentiality. If there is a complaint against a particular lecturer, if it is teaching and learning in the classroom, we'll go there and see the situation for ourselves, first-hand experience. And if we find out that the complaints that are made are genuine, we'll address it without calling the name of the student, but we'll put down the staff and say A, B, C, D, and put corrective measures in place. So we also protect them for confidentiality so that they cannot be victimized.
But there are times when some of these issues, you would obviously get to know who the student is that reported you, depending on the issue. So again, how do you protect the student, even for that particular lecturer? Because you cannot take the student out of that class. The students would continue to be in the class.
Yeah.
Do you have instances where you take the lecturer away from that particular class?
I have done that twice. There was a time we had a colleague, when we had the teacher certificate program, we had this colleague that was teaching the TC class. Students were not happy with his delivery. They came and reported without due recourse. I told him that he was to be reassigned to another activity. I had to step in myself to take the class. So we always make sure that we observe confidentiality. When issues come up, especially those that are dealing with students, for them not to be targeted, we make sure that we protect them, whereas at the same time, we take corrective measure to solve the situation at hand.
Another notorious habit or practice for some of the unprofessional lecturers is they do not come and lecture the students as should. What they do is come up with pamphlets and tell the students to buy. Is this right or wrong?
Well, selling pamphlets is wrong, I tell you. What we do?
So what do you do about it?
We prepare materials, and those materials will give out to the class reps to be produced by themselves for their colleagues. And once they have those materials, you go to class, then you can teach freely. But to really make pamphlets, sell them to them, or force them to buy is wrong.
But it's still happening. Have you been able? Have you from your monitoring again and the atmosphere you say you create for students to come forward and report?
Yeah.
Have you been able to catch any of these lecturers, and what have been the consequences for this?
Madam, to be very sincere, in that situation there is also compromise from the students. They will come and complain. You go to find out. There is nobody to come up and say, this man sold to me. They will tell you, there is no problem. He brought it. We use our money to buy. That's what the students will say, because they want to get favor from the lecturer. So it's a compounded issue. But by and large, we always emphasize to our membership that there is no crime in producing material, giving out to them for them to reproduce it for themselves. But to sell to them, we tell our membership to refrain, which on that point, I totally agree with you. But if you give out to them, they multiply. But again, there is a problem. Let me tell you, we have observed a situation where a particular class rep was given materials to go and reproduce. He now became the salesman. When that issue was reported to me, I had to call for the withdrawal of all the materials which he has sold to the pupils, to his colleagues. And then I asked him to return whatever he has collected. Let them do it out of their volition. Once the materials are available, let them out of their own volition come out and multiply it for themselves. But you cannot go and copy and then sell to make money.
Let's talk about harassment, sexual harassment in the classroom.
Yeah.
How bad is it as we speak? You say you monitor and you allow students to come forward with complaints. How bad would you say that is currently?
To be very sincere with you, it happens, but the rate is not too much. And even when you look at harassment, madam, there are other times students are also afraid to talk because of victimization. But what we do is when we observe that there is a tendency for harassment, we sit down with the students and talk to them, especially the females, because those are the ones that are really being what? And we tell them there are instances where they will come and report. There was a case reported to me. A lady said one of my members was harassing. We called and we realized that there was a relationship between them, which of itself was unprofessional. But by and large, I put him down and told him, you have to let go. Imagine that the student you are teaching is your own child, because we are representing the parents. So once you are in charge of them at that moment, and then you have any business with them, you are also compromising the system. And to be sincere, after a week, I interviewed a lady. She told me she has no more business with that man. So these are some of the ways to come in also. It's not always going to the administration. But our role as academic staff, especially those of us that are in leadership, there are a whole lot of issues that come to us, especially when it is dealing with our members.
Could that not also be classified as compromise in a sexual harassment case? That you don't escalate it to administration?
There are those that are escalated. I didn't say we don't escalate it. Those that can be handled at our own level can be handled. But when it is serious, we involve the registrar, who is the head of administration.
So how do you determine which sexual harassment case, which alleged sexual harassment case is serious and which isn't?
With regards to the degree, a female student may come up and tell you that that particular XY is disturbing me. Please advise him to let me go. That degree is more than the one that completely harasses the student always. For such, we can intervene. But where there has been serious allegation of sexual harassment, it's not left with us. We cascade it down to the head of administration, and that particular lecturer will face disciplinary committee. We have redress mechanism as to how to handle those issues.
We've seen some of these lecturers end up marrying their students. What do you think about that situation? Is it right?
When you are teaching a particular student, I don't subscribe to marriage. But if the student has graduated and then you marry the student, right?
And for some of those couples, you'll find that when they share the story of their journey together, they would communicate that they had been dating for a while.
Even before coming to the institution.
And when you trace that back, it means even during that lecturer-student relationship, they were in a romantic relationship. Morally and professionally, is this right or wrong?
I have already said that. When it is a lecturer-student relationship, you are lecturing the student, it is not right. But as you rightly said, some may be even in romantic situation before they come to the institution. And some of them may be even dating back to their high schools, where there is a promise to marriage. For such, maybe I would advise you exercise restraint. Once the student is done and she accepts your proposal, I don't think whether there is any crime after the student has graduated.
So even though most of the students at the universities are adults as in consenting age, 18 and above, most, not all. You have few who are under 18 when they get to the universities. But when you look at sexual harassment, the yardstick to measure that, if you are, whether a man or a woman, although most of the cases it's a man against a woman, but whether the male or the female, if you are in a situation where you have the upper hand or authority over another, you are not supposed to even pursue a romantic relationship with that individual. It constitutes sexual harassment.
I've already stated that.
It constitutes sexual harassment. Yet, you find, now we're talking about the classroom, so I'll limit the context of the conversation to the classroom. Yet, you find lecturers who do it. Do you think this is as a result of lack of knowledge, or there is the understanding of what sexual harassment really is, but they're just unprofessional and they disregard the professional conduct?
For those that are involved in that, I agree with last option. There is a compromise between both the student and the lecturer. Professionally, it is not correct. But where there is a compromise, even if people notice, the student will deny. because there is already a compromise.
Do you think it still doesn't answer? Do you
When
think
you are teaching the student,
it's lack of understanding of what
there is understanding.
Harassment is, or it's intentionally just disregarding it?
Some are intentionally disregarded. Yeah, it's not all. Some are intentionally disregarded. Because at that level, nobody will tell me there is lack of understanding. You know you are not supposed to do this. We have our do's and the don'ts, and that falls under the don't. You know, we have our conditions of service and codes of conduct, which clearly spell what we are supposed to do and what we are not supposed to do. So ignorance of that is not an excuse.
All right. Lastly, are you hopeful that anything, fruitful could come out of these negotiations?
We are 100% hopeful that our father of the nation will talk to us like a father talks to the child.
You've laid so much faith on not the president, but meeting the president.
No, I have told you, please, that we have two major issues we want to address.
Let's say, while walking out of the studio now, you are called by the Minister of Education.
At any time you call us, we are ready to interface with them.
Would that be okay without meeting the president, but talking to the minister?
To make sure that the issues are solved. That is the background.
Would that be okay?
Once the issues are solved, it's okay by us.
All right. Well, can only thank you so much for being here and hope that your issues are resolved soon. Thank you so much. Indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going for a short recess. Shall be back in a jiffy. Stay tuned.
More and more people are using Wakeup SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, like Wakeup SIM couple. Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs. The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Wakeup SIM Copper Plus now. You can download the Wakeup SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe and reliable.
Morning. Ria, give me 30 Leone top up. Thank you. Hello, babe. How you dey do? Talk to Buba.
Hello?
Don't settle for a provider that cuts into your data and airtime.
Ria, give me all the 30 Leones.
AfriCell gives you full value. AfriCell, now we network.
Download and register My AfriCell Sierra Leone new app today and enjoy 1 GB data for free. Valid for 3 days only. To download the app, scan the QR code or download it directly from Google Play Store or App Store. Download now and get the My AfriCell Sierra Leone new app features. For more info, call 111.
right, welcome back to the second segment of the program. You're still watching Wake Up Sierra Leone live on the Africa Young Voices Media Empire. You're watching us on TV and hearing us on radio this morning. Now, we are going to discuss issues around the, All People's Congress Party. So politics now. So the Political Parties Regulation Commission, PRC, has announced on August 17th, 2026 this year that it is legally constrained from enforcing its leadership transition plan for the All People's Congress Party, the main opposition. The reason for this is because an APC member filed a lawsuit against the Commission's secondary transition directives that the current APC national executive remains in office and the status quo is maintained until the court delivers a ruling. Now in February 10th as well this year, PPRC invoked Section 39(5) of the Political Parties Act of 2022 to grant the expiring APC executive a 6-month tenure extension. The second directive, the Commission stipulated that if the executive failed to hold a national delegates conference before the end of the 6th month, the APC parliamentary leader, alongside 5 regional MPs, would take over party management.
As the 6-month extension reached its 18th August expiration, which was yesterday, an APC member challenged the parliamentary takeover plan in court with barely 2 years ahead of the general elections. We ask, what is the fate of APC? This morning to discuss these issues, we have the Executive Secretary of the Political Parties Regulation Commission, the PPRC, Olusegun A. David. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
We're expecting as well to be joined by Abdul Kamara, member of the APC publicity team. Let's start with you, Olusegun. You're here already. It was a directive by the PPRC to, again, it's not just now to register, but also regulate political parties. But then there's this development of this going to court. How does this affect the PPRC's ruling over the APC and the APC itself as a political party?
Well, it absolutely does not in any way affect the ruling of the PPRC. The commission, though very independent, but our actions again can be subject or can be tested in the competent court of jurisdiction. And in this instance, we now have the courts. In a circumstance when members or group of persons within political parties feel aggrieved with decisions we've taken, the commission is really not above the laws of Sierra Leone, and those decisions can be challenged in the competent court of jurisdiction. And in this instance, that's exactly what the individual who has taken us to court has done, to now challenge that he is not in favor of that particular directive that the commission has actually issued. And that is fair enough. As a commission, we don't have any problem with that. It's equally part of testing the legal jurisprudence. It's equally part of members of political party exercising their franchise. So it's really okay. It doesn't affect the PPRC. For the APC, I may not be in a better position to say whether it's going to affect them.
The decision by the PPRC was to sort of, again, regulate in a way that there would be no leadership vacuum within the APC. Would this now lead to a leadership vacuum?
Well, if you look at the content of the press statement that was issued by the commission, it was noted that owing to the current legal battle for which the commission has been brought before the courts, owing to that, we are constrained to invoke the second limb of our directives that were issued in February. And the status quo will remain. So as of now, there is absolutely no vacuum. And that particular status quo is going to remain until the decision is actually decided upon by the courts. So that's the position so far.
Could this have been resolved differently other than a court proceeding in this? In essence, I'll rephrase that. The particular individual taking this to court, did he approach the PPRC sort of maybe questioning or stating dissatisfaction over your decision?
Well, no. In fact, as I speak, when we received the summon, that was when we realized that there is a person that is named, I forgot the first name, but something Suma. The person did not approach the commission, but it's not an obligation for the individual to really approach the commission. The question might be, the directives was issued way back in February. Why is the individual now challenging the decision almost at the nick of time when the 6 months expiration of the extension has triggered under the provisions of Section 39(5) of the Political Parties Act? Why now? But again, he or she, and in this instance he, has the right. The Constitution guarantees that. And even as an institution, we equally appreciate when people tend to critique our actions or critique our decisions. We are very open. It's a national institution created by the Constitution and parliamentary acts, but that does not preclude us from actually, being taken to courts in a circumstance when individuals or parties feel that they are dissatisfied with our action. A similar instance occurred, in 2023, when the Unity Party was unable to actually contest the election. The commission was taken to court as well. So we are not averse to being taken to court as an institution. And one of our guiding principles is the Constitution and the provisions of the Political Parties Act. But again, whilst we exercise our work in line with the mandates as provided for in the Acts, we are equally bound by the laws of Sierra Leone. And in any circumstance when individuals think that a particular decision of the party, of the commission, well, is not actually, does not sit well with him or her, then the individual has the right to do. And that's not the only issue. As we speak, we equally have another litigation regarding one of our rulings in relation to the lower level elections in Tonkolili. So that is nice. It's fine. It's good. All of these are the same party, the same APC. So this is really very good. As a commission, we are very much okay. It's equally part of the democratic things we are actually preaching. And it's equally part of creating the space for people to freely express themselves and to express themselves even when they think they are really dissatisfied with our actions. So it's fine. It's okay.
In your estimation, in what ways will this affect the APC?
Well, it has the tendency to affect the APC. Like I said, I don't want to really be their spokesperson, but definitely it's going to affect them. Now there is another litigation, like I said, that emanated from the rulings of the commission regarding the conduct of the lower level elections in Tonkolili, and until that matter is decided upon, I'm not sure that the party can actually proceed with any issue regarding be it constituency or district elections in that particular district. So we don't know how long that particular process might take. We don't know how it's going to take, and definitely it's going to affect the party. Definitely, there are no two ways about that. But again, citizens have their rights to express themselves, and in doing so, the best thing to do is to actually seek legal interpretation or to seek the advice of the courts in instances when they think that they really feel aggrieved with decisions that has been taken. So it's all well and good. It's part of the democratic tenets. PPIC is fine, but all of those litigations do not affect the work of the PPIC. Absolutely, it doesn't. But again, what happens is that it helps to equally strengthen the practice of democracy within political parties and in the country as a whole.
What would a solution look like for them?
Solution in which instance?
Subject to legal, redress, or there are other mechanisms through which they can, figure this out and solve it.
In an instance when individuals or group of persons feel dissatisfied with the action of the PPIC, the only remedial place to go is the courts.
The courts,
nothing more. You cannot take the PPIC again to the party, no. You cannot take us to any other body rather than taking us to the courts. And in those circumstances, the decision of the courts becomes final. We are bound by law to actually adhere to the ruling or the outcome of those decisions. So, but we continue to do our work. We'll continue to provide the supervisory roles we ought to for political parties. We'll continue to do all what is required of us as provided for in the Political Parties Act. And we are focused in ensuring that, you know, there is respect for the rule of law and adherence to all statutory instruments regulating the activities and functionalities of political parties in Sierra Leone. Of course, 2 weeks, a week ago, we issued certificate of registration to another 2 political parties, summing it to a total of 20 registered political parties now in the country. So we are still going about our work in line with our mandates. And whilst those litigations are ongoing, yes, we make our representation, yes, but we are still focused with doing our work, and we'll continue to do that. We are preparing ourselves ahead of the 2028 presidential and general elections, and that is actually our focus, and that is what we are actually working towards.
I just wanted to ask about the, you know, the 2 new political parties. Has anyone else approached the PRC to register a party, aside from those 2 new kids on the block?
We do.
Okay.
I'm sure we have at least 4 or 5 more applications, and they are actually under review. You know, the process of registering a political party, you know, has procedures as provided for in sections 22 of the Political Parties Act. And in most instances, when people just express their intention to be registered as a political party, they just think that's the end of the story, and it's not. It's just the beginning of many more steps to go. In as much as the process of registering political parties is not really that challenging, but again, I must state that it's a bit, well, I don't want to say cumbersome. But it's much more of a procedure rather than just an event, you know, that you think I'll come today and by tomorrow or the next 1 week or 1 month from now I'm done. You know, the Act really provides. In most instances, when movements submit or express themselves, you know, to be registered as a political party, you know, we equally have other things to do. As provided in the Act, they ought to submit the names of membership of 50 in every electoral district. In most instances, they'll just submit the name, for example, Joshua Kanu, Mabinti Kuruma, without actually providing us with the other details. So in those instances, we have to write back and tell you, please, kindly ensure, we want to know Joshua Kanu, the address of Joshua Kanu, his telephone number, we want to say his signature, and we want to have his NIN number. And aside that, you equally have to provide us with the ID cards of each and every of those members. In most instances, they will actually submit 15, remaining 35, and until that particular process is completed, we cannot move forward. The lease agreements, they'll submit lease agreements to us, we'll have to do background check. In most instances, when we do the background check, and even when we go to verify the respective movements offices, we'll find out that the offices are not really functional. So we'll have to write back to the movement. You have to ensure that your office is really functional. Now, we are equally mindful, owing to the global trend in terms of terrorism, you know, money laundering. So, going forward, when movements express intentions to be registered as a political party, we equally send the details of the leadership of that particular movement to the Office of National Security, because they have the competence in terms of doing background check when it comes to security issue. And equally so, the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, to check, you know, the bank accounts of the leadership, to know whether, you know, to actually be able to determine their source of income. You know, so it takes time. ONS will be doing theirs, FIU are doing theirs. Definitely have to. It's not going to be a week business, not 2 weeks. You know, until those responses come in, then we can now move forward to the other limbs of the requirements of registering as a political party. Now, what we intend to do equally, when those movements submit the names of their membership, the 50 membership per political district, we now intend to send those names to the registered political parties to find out whether they don't have such names in their data system as members of their parties. Because
is it against the law?
Say?
Is it against the law? You say you would now have to send to those other political parties to verify.
To just check.
Is it against the law to be a member of as many?
No, it's against the law. You cannot be a member of two political parties. You have to be a member of one political party. And one of the things we noted is that when those movements, because they think that's just a pathway in fulfilling the requirement for registration, they just capture people's name. In some instances, they don't even tell them that we want to register you as a member of our party. They will tell them we want to provide microcredits. And that is how they lure people. And they submit those names. And those names, in most instances that we've actually done our background check, belong to other political parties. So that's the challenges we actually faced when those movements approached the commission to be registered as a political party. But they will be all over the media to say that we've submitted our documents 1 year ago, the PPIC has done nothing. And they will never come claim to say that, no, they wrote to us, we did this, and up to now we are yet to actually do what they've instructed us to do. So that's the challenge. And we can't just come to the media to now say, oh, this movement has not done X, Y, Z, because as far as we are concerned, we still don't have a formalized relationship. It's still a process that the movement is undergoing to be registered as a political party. So they smear the image of the commission, but we are focused on our work, and we are much more focused in ensuring that what is the requirement as provided for in the Act is adhered to.
With elections about 2 years away from now, it seems it's that season of registration of new political parties. Take a step back. What's the criteria to be registered as a political party in Sierra Leone?
All right, I've just given some snippets here, but it's a very simple process. First off, the Act provides that such movement should have an office space in all of the regions. And equally so, you should provide a lease agreement of 5 years for those respective offices. Thereafter, the law equally provides that we want to see proof of membership. If you want to be a political party, we want to know your capital. So proof of membership of 50 members per political district. So we expect all of the 50 membership in all of the electoral districts to be equally submitted. And once that is done equally, like I said now, we equally receive information regarding the leadership of the said movements in terms of their bank accounts, their addresses. We want to know their occupation, their place of residence, be it in Freetown, in the regions, or in the diaspora. And thereafter, we'll have to send all of those documentation to the Office of the National Security and the FIU for them to do further scrutiny. Once we receive responses from those institutions, we now move further to ensure that we do a background check, the 50 membership that those movements have submitted per district, to check with the political parties whether they don't have names of such people in their database as members. And it's really very easy to check now because all of those names that are submitted have their NIN number attached to it, and we equally request for a photocopy of those individuals that have been purported to be members of the said movement. We now have their ID card equally attached. So once that is done, all of those are verified, then we publish the rules and the constitution of that particular movement for a period of 30 days. If we don't receive objections from the public, then thereafter we conduct our verification of the respective movement offices to see whether those offices are really functional. Once that is done, we now come back to issue a certificate of registration. So it's not that too difficult, but it's like I said, it's more of a procedure, a legal procedure rather than just an event.
It sounds very open. Are there restrictions? So for example, if say Black Leo, that has been a music movement, or Red Flag Movement, RFM, if they wake up one day and decide to say this is now going to become a political party, are they restricted?
Yeah, there are prohibitions.
So what are the
prohibitions? Of course, the Act provides that a particular movement should not represent a certain group, a certain tribe, or a certain religion. So those are the prohibition. It must not be a reflection of a certain group of persons or a certain religion or hails from a particular region.
That would raise an eyebrow to Musa Tarawale's political party that he had registered, and he actually was leaning, much of his slogans leaning to the side of Islam. If you're saying now there are restrictions on that, how do you justify that?
No. To start with, Musa Tarawale did not register a political party with the PPRC. He was elected as a presidential candidate for one of the registered political parties, and that's the Citizens Democratic Party. So there is a difference. Whilst the said movement is trying to be registered as a political parties, and there's a difference when the said political party is now functional and its presidential candidates constitute him or herself or conduct him or herself in another manner. So that's the difference.
Was that
so
acceptable
in the instance
by law in that instance with
no, it
Musa
wasn't.
Tarawale?
No, it wasn't, and the commission took necessary action. We actually invited himself, the leadership of the party, to meetings. We told him to actually bring down his banners, and thereafter we equally went further to do a press release to to notify the public that those citations. But again, then we were constrained because we wanted to put down his banners, but again we were asked to go to court and seek a court order. So that was our constraint. But thankfully, so we now have a reviewed process. The Act gives us additional powers, additional authority, and we've been having the best of support from the Sierra Leone police and all other security architecture in the country. And I'm not sure a repeat of that particular instance will ensue in the distant future.
I would also use this opportunity this morning to talk to you about the guidelines for 2028 elections, because even towards the end of this year and early next year, pre-party activities would be, intensifying as they prepare for the 2028 elections. But let's hold on to this for a minute. We'll come to it right back. Let's see if Ransford McLean is all set for sports updates this morning. Good morning, Ransford.
Good morning. And thank you very much for having me on sports this morning. Fabian Swina, for our first story. Leone Stars head coach Didier Gomez da Rosa has begun home-based training at the SLFA Academy as a technical center, launching preparation for the 2027 AFCON qualifiers. The training is aimed at assessing technically selected local-based players ahead of September's opening fixtures against Zimbabwe and Equatorial Guinea. Witnessed by the SLFA Vice President, one doubled as the Technical Committee Chair, Ali Baratali. He urged players to stay focused and disciplined, stressing that selection will be based strictly on competence and performance as camp preparation continue. And finally, to the international scene, a former Arsenal and France captain, Patrick Vieira, has been appointed as the new head coach of Senegal men's national team, the Teranga Lions. The 50-year-old replaces Papeteau, who was dismissed in the wake of the country's last 32 exits at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Well, Vieira has coached or managed several clubs in the Premier League and other teams in Europe, which the former Arsenal captain and France captain all the very best. So that's all for sports this morning on Wakeup Sierra Leone. And over to you guys in the main studio.
Thank you very much, Ransford McLean, for the sports update this morning. Yes, so as we continue the conversation, the guidelines for 2028 elections, it would get to that season again where there would be billboards. For now, we're seeing posters on walls, on poles, some billboards, but it would soon get to that season where billboards would occupy the streets. What are the guidelines?
So we are currently having conversations together with the Freetown City Council the Sierra Leone Road Authority and the Western Area Rural District Council to see how we can bring together some regulations that will help sanitize the entirety of the spaces as we actually proceed or approach the electoral process properly. Because we've seen over the years when banners are actually, they lit the streets of Freetown to an extent. Even when you are driving, you find it very difficult, especially when you're approaching curves. You find it very difficult to see through because of the way the banners are placed. They are really very unsightly, and we don't want a repeat of that. We want a situation when political parties can actually disseminate their information to the public, but in a very decent, decorous, and within the confines of the law. We want a situation when they put up their banners do not create any problem for road users, be it pedestrians or those that will be driving. So we are currently having that particular conversations to see what we can actually develop as a way of regulation that will actually guide the entirety of pasting of banners, ahead of the 2028 presidential and general elections. So those conversations are ongoing, and once those regulations are drafted, definitely we'll actually bring them to the knowledge of the political parties. We'll have a conversation on those regulations, and once the understanding is there, then we now have it as a bylaw to guide the operations of political parties.
But the question is, how soon would you put these regulations together? Because these banners, positioning them, it's not just about the flag bearer candidates that the parties would have selected. It starts from even those aspiring to become flag bearers. And the race is intensifying within the APC right now. There's no restriction for them, so they're allowed. They're busy at it. Within the SLPP, of course, there's a restriction. President Bio, as leader, had told them they should all support him first to finish his term, and then they will get to that part later. But obviously, as we're going towards the end of the year and early next year, the expectation is you would see all these people trying to, sell themselves to the general population. So banners would not be a surprise. How soon would you put these regulations together? Is it only for the elections, or are you putting it together pre the NDCs within the parties?
Well, the focus is not only for the elections. We intend to see how the environment can be sanitized holistically. And that's the reason why we are not equally doing it in isolation of the Office of National Security. The Commission is currently having conversations with the Office of National Security again to see how, once those regulations have been drawn, together with Freetown City Council and the Western Area Rural District, together with the Sierra Leone Road Authority, then we'll have the involvement of the Office of National Security. By default, the Sierra Leone Police will be involved as well. And that is how we'll actually help to get the regulations developed. Like I said, once the regulation is there, we'll now bring it up to the political parties to validate. And once it's agreeable, then we'll implement. Of course, the implementation will not equally stop with the PPIC. We cannot do it alone. Definitely we'll need the support of the security sector. Because in an instance when banners are placed in areas where they ought not to be placed, the Sierra Leone Road Authority has now the legal standing based on the regulations that will be in place to get them off. The Freetown City Council have similar authority, even without having, I'll state here, that even without having such regulation, the Freetown City Council have bylaws that guides the pasting of banners, the placement of banners and the pasting of stickers within the precincts of Freetown. So once all of those regulations are in place, the institutions involved will be able to actually do what they ought to do dispassionately, fairly, and not to give advantage to one party. So that's the essence of the regulation. So the regulation should be predictable. It's not about discretion, that I'm going to take this person's banner off, I'm going to leave this other person's banner. If the regulation states that you shouldn't place it there, then automatically institutions that ought to implement that, the provisions of the regulation will actually do it without fear or favor and without being biased. So that is exactly what we intend to do, get the regulations done. And I'm sure from now to the end of the year, those regulations will be in place, and probably by early next year, we'll see how we'll start its implementation. But as of now, there is no regulation in place, but the Commission keep engaging the leadership of the political parties that, you know, we are not in an election year. So all of those banners, they should see how respective candidates can actually, it's their rights to actually display their banners. But as of now, it should be displayed within the confines of their respective party offices and not to litter the streets and become a problem equally, you know, or serve as a threat to road users as well.
In the meantime, what is the PPRC working on?
A couple of things, a number of things. Of course, election preparedness is really not easy. Unlike other institutions, the PPRC's work is 24/7. We don't have leave, we don't go on holidays. Once political parties keep functioning, then PPRC's work is 24/7. And so we have a lot of things we are working on. As we speak, we will definitely be having a review of the Political Parties Act. But one of the things that has equally impeded us from going further with the consultations has got to do with the constitutional amendment instruments that was in Parliament, because there are portions of that instrument that will affect the workings of the PPRC, and you don't want to do it. You don't want to review an act in isolation with the parents' law, you know. So you draw your strength from the parents' law, and so we cannot do anything currently once that particular bill in Parliament is not a law. So once it's the law, then definitely we'll proceed with the review of the Political Parties Act. And equally so, we equally have the Inter-Party Dialogue Committee that is ongoing. You know, it's part of it's formed part of Resolution 5 of the Agreement of National Unity that calls for the institutionalization of an inter-party dialogue framework to keep the political parties' leadership at bay, to keep them intact, and to create a platform where they can actually be able to express themselves and discuss on issues of national interest. So the Inter-Party Dialogue Committee is actually ongoing. Of course, tomorrow we'll be having the 11th Inter-Party Dialogue Committee meeting at the New Brookfield Hotel that will bring together the 20 political party leaders, you know, to discuss on issues of national interest. Thereafter, we'll have that particular Inter-Party Dialogue Committee. We'll have the regional Inter-Party Dialogue Committee. Of course, we've received some funding from the UNDP to actually ensure that we don't want to have the inter-party dialogue conversations at national level. We equally want to have them at the regional level. So issues within the region will actually form part of the conversations at the national level. And so solutions can actually be profiled, recommendations can be reached, and PPIC will ensure that those recommendations or suggestions that have been profiled are really adhered to, are implemented. Thereafter, we'll continue with our regulatory work with the political parties. We'll continue, of course, receiving applications for movement to be registered as political parties. We'll continue to equally provide capacity training opportunities for leadership of parties, because one of the things we know for sure, when you don't know, when you have knowledge gap, it equally affects your performance. So we want to see how we can strengthen the abilities of political parties. We did that ahead of the 2023 elections when we trained political party leaders on issues of mediation, negotiation, soft diplomatic power. You know, how do you engage your opponent without resorting to violence? And it helps relatively. You know, I always say the 2023 elections is one election where the day of the polls we equally witnessed little problems. You know, so we want to see how we can improve on what we've started in 2023. Aside that, we have so many other things we are working on. The capacity development of equally staff members of the PPIC is our focus, because you cannot give out what you don't have, and the more you are equipped, the more you are knowledgeable on issues, especially contemporary politicking, then it equally exhibits in terms of your outputs and performance generally. So aside that, we equally thinking of expanding our offices. As we speak, we have regional offices, we have one district office. We are thinking of expanding to have offices established, especially in political flashpoints. One of the challenges we keep having has got to do with financing, because for every office you want to create, it has financial implications. You have to recruit staff, you have to pay bills, and so we are currently having conversations with the Ministry of Finance. Thankfully, you know, the cross-party committee that people normally refer to, the tripartite committee, recommended a management functional review of election management body, and the public sector reform unit have conducted that management functional review of the PPIC, and we are working on the implementation of those particular recommendations. And in those recommendations equally, it is stated that we equally need to decentralize. So we'll be having conversations with the Ministry of Finance to see how we may not be able to have all of the offices because of financial constraints, but at least in political flashpoints to equally reduce the tension and to reduce the response rate of the commission, especially in hard to reach areas. So there are a couple of things that we are working on, and we are still with the APC in the having their lower level elections, petitions hearing as we speak, following the conduct of the constituency elections and the rerun of certain ward elections. We've received tons of petitions again, but those petitions are first off being dealt with at the Independent Elections Complaint Board, IECB, as provided for at Article 43 of the All People's Congress Constitution. Once their ruling is out, it is possible that we'll have those individuals who may not be satisfied with the ruling of the IECB, automatically they'll have to come to us. Some have equally written their petitions to us that the IECB did not hear them, and that they want their issues to be addressed. So we have tons of that. If I'm not exaggerating, I'm sure we'll have up to 45 or 50 of those petitions again. So our work is inelastic. It's ongoing, and it's 24/7. We hardly sleep. You know, there are instances when we have those petitions. We start around 10 a.m. and we run through the night till 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning, and again we break off, come again. So that's the work we do. You know, the work of the PPIC is really very challenging, I must confess, but it's very difficult for the public to really know what we do. You can only know what PPIC is doing in a circumstance when we renege on our responsibility and you see the political parties or their membership constituting problems along the streets of Freetown. Then you realize that, oh, PPIC is doing that much. But aside that, once the environment is quiet, the political space is quiet, people tend to know. People tend not just to understand what we do as a commission.
And
our work is really very daunting and
speaking of problems in the streets, the conversation of whether or not to hold street rallies, it came up, and the political parties, some are not satisfied with that. For them, it's a show of numbers, it's a show of strength. What is the PPRC's vision for 2028? State rallies or not?
Well, definitely we want to maintain the status quo. You know, all of us, we actually attest to the fact that the 2023 elections was very decent, well, relatively decent, all right? If you actually take the rally period in the 2023 elections and have a snippet of the 2018 rallies, you'll find out that the 2023 political rallies were a bit much more coordinated, decent, and much engaging, especially with the membership of the respective parties. Now, the question is, what have street rallies added to the political conversation? What has been the benefit of street rallies over the years? Now, in 2023, I remember vividly the secondary school kids from 3 were having their Becker, you have the SS3 students having WASC. All of those public examinations were ongoing and rallies were still ongoing. So everything was very quiet. Shops were open. Our mothers, our aunts went about their business in the markets. But if you flip it to 2018, when you have political parties coming out for rally, trust me, it's almost like a holiday in the whole city. Shops will be closed because they are afraid that some hooligans will just use this opportunity of the crowd scenery to now create some mayhem. You'll see our mothers, our aunts will actually quit off their markets. You'll see even parents they would be very fearful of sending their kids to school. So we've actually seen the goods and the bad side. And one of the things we want to do as a commission is to have a further conversation with the leadership of political parties to understand the importance and the significance of not having street rally. So there's a difference between street rally and political party rally. Now, street rally is a circumstance when political parties take on the streets with no message. You'll see they will just be dancing, they'll just be jollying. You'll see the youths involving themselves into acts that are really very unethical. They will be taking their drugs, they will actually smoke, they will intoxicate themselves with alcohol. So at the end of the day, even when they get to these designated points, there is no message coming out from the leader because they've jollied, they've ride through the day. By the time they get to the designated point, it's already night. But in 2023, one of the things we did was have political parties have a designated point of convergence. Then you'll be able to have a message from your political leader, and you'll be able to now hold that particular political leader accountable, contingent on his or her pronouncement by way of a promise. So those are the variations. So we'll see that we did not, and that is the misconception. People thought that the PPIC placed a ban on political rallies, which was not the case. A ban was placed on street rallies and not political rallies. And of course, if you don't, how do you hold your leaders accountable when you don't have a statement of commitment coming from them? Street rallies, you don't have those statements of commitment. It's all about just dancing endlessly, achieving nothing. So we want our political discourse to be much more decent, to be much more accountable, where political leaders can be held accountable for their pronouncements, for their promises, for their commitments. And that's the vision. Once again, it's a conversation that we'll have with the leadership of the parties, and I'm sure that the leadership of the party, they mean well for the people and citizenry of the country. They will see reasons why we should actually just continue. In modern democracies, yes, they do have political parties rallies, but they have it in a designated confinements where you'll see they will conduct themselves, they have their podiums, they will talk, and the leaders will be asked a series of questions. So that is what we want to do. We want to sanitize our political rallies and have it much more educational, have it much more conversational, and have the ordinary members of those parties the opportunity to coerce by way of asking their leaders questions and hold them accountable in an instance they assume the seats of authority.
Thank you so much, Olusegun, for your time with us this morning. Well, this is where we'll have to end today's edition of the program, Wake Up Sierra Leone. Thanks to our guests for their time and to you, our lovely audience, for your participation. Thanks to our sponsor, Wakeup Commercial Bank, and all the advertisers supporting Wake Up Sierra Leone and AYV Media Empire generally. We've been your presenters. I am Phoebian Sweel.
And I am Victor Jones. Please stay tuned to AYV throughout the day. We have other programs coming up. Till we meet again, take good care of yourself and remember to show kindness always. Goodbye.